Welcome back, everybody. This is Coach Mike for the September installation of our monthly workshop meetings. Welcome back. September is kind of off to a rough start. We had a nice 3-day weekend, and then, of course, on Tuesday, the market was down. I think the Dow was down about 600 points, so off to a rough start. But I just want to say, historically, September is one of the worst months for the market. So just kind of normal. Didn't expect it to start off that way with down 600 points. But historically speaking, if you go back and you look at the records, September is one of the worst months out of the 12 months in the year. So with that said, let's get the show started. Football season is here, right? First game, Ravens Chiefs. So I don't know who's going to win, but this month's topic is going to talk about sports betting and sports gambling and things like that. So let's get the show on the road. Let me share my screen. And let's get started. Yeah. So as you can see, NASDAQ, huge sell-off, brutal start to September with NVIDIA, and the rest of the market just kind of followed, going down with NVIDIA, and the rest of the market being a bad day in the market. But it's just one day. It's just one day. All right, so you guys know who we are and why we're here. This is the monthly meeting for the Baltimore Stock Market Meetup Group. Got about 350 members so far. All right, I'm your host, Coach Mike, founder of Walk On Consultants. And I help first-time investors get off the bench and get in the game, okay? I also help experienced investors who need a sounding board to discuss if they should add a stock to their portfolio or sell something or buy something new. I always started off the same way with a quote from Benjamin Franklin that an investment in knowledge pays the best interest. Can't get any better than that. A few disclaimers I want to get out the way that this is not investment advice. This is just information, food for thought of general nature in the investing world. Real investment advice takes into consideration a lot of other factors that you can see here on the right. So since I don't know anything about you, this is not investment advice. Things to consider also, there's always this intersection of risk versus reward, and it's up to you to decide how much risk you're willing to take for how much reward you're going to get. Okay. The one thing I can say is that if you don't take any risk, you're not going to get any reward. Okay. That is a true regardless of what you're doing. And typically, the more risk, the bigger the reward, but also the more risk, maybe the bigger the loss. So again, these are all factors that you need to decide for yourself. Everyone balances risk in a different way. We're all human. We've got different personality types and different investment profiles. So remember, you got to decide what is right for you. Lastly, I want to say is that you'll see me use some third-party links. So some of the information I'm giving out today is not from Coach Mike, but from some of the third-party links that I've used. So without further ado, let's talk about what we can talk about. Sports gambling versus investing. And as I know, a lot of people are into fantasy football. And so I want to talk about some of the distinctions between gambling and investing. Okay. Are they the same? Are they different? We'll talk about that. But I know a lot of people play fantasy football. And tonight's the first game, Thursday night football, Ravens, Chiefs. I don't know who you're picking, but you probably have a fantasy team and players from both of those, like Lamar Jackson and Kelsey, and who knows who else you have on your team. So for those that don't know about fantasy football, right? A lot of you do, but maybe some of you don't. You know, we got 32 NFL teams, and everybody picks their starting lineup, right? You get to pick a quarterback, 2 wide receivers, 2 tight ends, 2 running backs, a kicker, and your team defense, right? So kind of works like this. We'll have a draft, and everyone will go through a round of picking their favorite player and build, sort of they're building their own team. So it may, in the end, it may look something like this. My starting quarterback is Patrick Mahomes. I've got 2 wide receivers. As you can see, they play for different teams. Same with the tight ends. You're not picking players from your team. You're using all 32 teams to build your perfect team. And that's kind of how it works. So if you look up, well, you know, what kind of skills you need to play fantasy football, you'll see critical thinking, decision-making. Of course, you got to know a little bit about the NFL, but the skills you need are decision-making, critical thinking, and a little bit of understanding about how the league works. And having a balance of maybe some rookie players, some proven players, and of course the sleepers, that people that no one thinks about. You look at what it takes to invest in stocks. This is all AI driven, of course. You see some of the same skills: critical thinking, diversification, analytical skills, research, discipline, right? Critical thinking, sort of the same skills. So I've always said, right? I've always said that if you can do this, right? Look at all that data, all those statistics, and pick a team. If you can do this, why can't you do this? You can do the same thing. It's the same part of the brain that uses the analytical skills, the critical thinking skills, the decision-making skills to pick that team. Then you can pick some stocks. Why not say, I'm going to pick a bank stock? Maybe it's Wells Fargo. Maybe it's Chase. Maybe it's JP Morgan, right? I'm going to pick 2 technology stocks, right? Google and NVIDIA, or Dell and Microsoft, right? I'm going to pick 2 communication stocks, 2 consumer discretionary stocks, right? If you can do that with the fantasy football, then why can't you do it with investing, right? It's the same skill set, exact same skill set, right? So I asked my friends and my family, well, why don't you invest? Why not? You know, why don't you invest, right? And that's what I get. It's confusing. I don't get it. It's confusing. Trust me, you can do it. But this is the reaction I get, right? Or if they tell me, you know, the stock market is just gambling, right? But when they do gambling and they go to the casino, they think it's fun. No, gambling is fun. Well, I don't think losing money is fun. But you know, this is the feedback I get, the pushback. Oh, stock market is just gambling. I'm here to tell you that it's not just gambling, okay? It's a big difference between investing in the market and gambling, okay? And I'm just gonna, I don't want to read to you, but I'm just gonna read the first line. Investing has the potential for a positive return over time, while gambling almost always results in a loss, okay? And if you look at what's on the right, statistically, it's likely to be negative, okay? A gambler owns nothing while an investor owns a share of the underlying company. So there you have a clear distinction between gambling and investing, okay? In a nutshell, gambling is a zero-sum game, which means if I bet 100 and I win 100, you lose 100, okay? The total sum is 0, right? Or you win 100 and I lose 100, okay? I win, you lose, or you lose, I win. It's really black and white, in or out, yes or no, win or lose. It's a zero-sum game. It's going to be a winner and a loser, because either the Ravens are going to win or the Chiefs are going to win. That's it. Only 2 choices. Real binary. But that is not the way investing works, okay? That is not how investing works. We all know when it comes to gambling that the house always wins, right? That's pretty much a few people win. Of course, a few people win, right? Whether it's Powerball or, you know, the lottery, right? Yeah, there's always going to be a few winners, but most people lose. The house always wins. If you turn over the back of the lottery ticket, I think it says something like your odds of winning are like 1 in, you know, 30 million or some ridiculous amount of odds, right? The house always wins. So if the house always wins, why not put your money on the house? Why not? And I'm talking about FanDuel and DraftKings, 2 of the most popular sports betting apps we have out there right now. If you're playing fantasy football or not, you're probably using FanDuel or DraftKings to bet on a game and do a parlay, and just crazy. You can bet on anything: hockey, baseball, and even within the sport, you can bet on, is this person going to get this many yards, this many catches? Will his player hit this many home runs or base hits? It's crazy. You can bet on almost anything. You can probably bet on the election as well. Who's going to win, right? So gambling in this country is huge. But again, gambling, it's a in or out, a win or lose, a yes or no. And that $100 or $50 is gone, whether you win or not, okay? So let's look at FanDuel. Let's look at DraftKings side by side. You know, I'm a fundamental investor. I'm also a technical investor. I combine the technicals and the fundamentals. But let's start with the fundamentals, right? On the left, we got FanDuel, okay? And you can look at their revenue from 2020, a little bit over $4 billion, 2021, $6 billion. And then 2022, we got $7.5 billion. And then look, last year, about 11.5, almost $12 billion in revenue for FanDuel last year. On the contrary, DraftKings is only about a quarter of the size, right? Last year, they had about 3.5 billion, maybe 3.75 billion. So nowhere near comparison to the revenue of FanDuel. However, both companies are losing money. What you see in the blue is earnings, which means after all the expenses are taken out, what do they have left over? And both companies are actually losing money. Tons of revenue, but they're losing money. And it's because all the promotions they have. You've seen Kevin Hart commercials, right? You've seen Jamie Foxx commercials, right? That costs money. You've seen the promotionals that they give out. Oh, opening an account and you get $200 on your first, bet. Like they spend a lot of money in marketing and promotion. They are bringing in money, but they're spending a lot of money to get that revenue. And that's why they are losing money at the end of the day. So here's just a chart. Again, some more fundamental data. It's a $210 stock for FanDuel. And by the way, FanDuel is owned by a company called Flutter Entertainment, which is based in Dublin, Ireland. So if you look up FanDuel, you won't see that. You'll see Flutter. The symbol is FLUT. $210 stock. You can see some of the fundamentals there. Let's go to DraftKings. Now, DraftKings is DraftKings. The symbol is DKNG. $33 stock. You can see again the market cap and where it's been, some of the other fundamental data. Let's look at some technicals. If you started at the beginning of the year up until now, September 3rd, you've got Flutter up 17.8%, DraftKings down 4.5%. So clearly the winner would be Flutter up 17.8% just from January up until now. And of course, Flutter is the bigger company as well. If you're interested in some of the other casino or gambling related stocks, you've got casinos. These are some of the names that you probably already recognize. You've probably been to Vegas and seen Caesars, MGM, Wynn Resorts, Las Vegas Sands, right? Now, these casinos, again, part of their revenue is coming from the hotel. So they've got a hotel and a casino. So these companies don't rely just on the gambling. They probably have some revenue from the restaurants as well. So you may want to look at investing in the casinos. Again, remember, my theme is the house always wins. So bet your money on the house instead of just betting on the Chiefs or the Ravens, okay? And then behind the scenes, you've got the companies that make these slot machines and all the technology that goes into the casinos. Penn Entertainment and IGT, they make the sort of the infrastructure, what drives the casinos, all the machines and the technology. And then a stock that I actually am invested in personally is Genius Sports Limited. They do a lot of data crunching and help casinos and DraftKings and FanDuel decide on the odds. So when it says so-and-so team is a 2-point underdog, that's where they're getting that from. It's Genius Sports compiling the data saying this team should be a 3-point underdog, a 3-point favorite. So look at some of the vendors, look at some of the casinos, or look at FanDuel and DraftKings. But if you're gonna gamble, you should be betting on some of these stocks. There's no other way around it, okay? So I wanna know what you're thinking. Is it the apps? Is it the casinos and hotels? Or is it the vendors? Which one? Put it in chat. Which one you think would be the best bet for you, okay? I know what I put my money on, but it's up to you to decide what you put your money on. That's a personal decision, but let's talk about it. I want to see what you think. So I'm going to wrap it up here. I want to leave some closing thoughts with you that you need to understand that gambling is a zero-sum game. Okay, it's win or lose, it's black or white, it's in or out. Okay, know what type of investor you are. Are you willing to take that kind of risk? And if you are, know how risky that investment is. Of course, I always mention the things at the bottom, but those are not my top 3 takeaways. Okay. Also remember that a good portfolio is always diversified. Don't put all of your eggs in one basket. So I'm not saying that you've got to be diversified exactly in these proportions. You don't have to have 24% of your portfolio in technology stocks, but just understand that you want to have some technology, some healthcare, some energy, some utilities in your portfolio. It's not all gambling stocks. It's not all tech stocks, okay? A good portfolio has some diversification, okay? Want to make a quick announcement here as well that I'm going to be starting a stock market game in 2 weeks so that you can practice your skills. And here are some of the particulars. It's going to run for about 8 weeks. It is a virtual online game simulator. We'll start with a $100,000 simulated portfolio. It costs $25 to get in, but the winner will get $100. and it will not allow late entries. I want everyone to start at the same time with the same amount of money. It's not fair if you start on September 16th with $100,000 and maybe a week later you're down to $90,000 because you picked some bad stocks, and now a new person comes in with $100,000. That's not fair. So when everyone is started at the same time on the same date with $100,000 in their portfolio. So this will give you, if you've never been in the market before, or even if you already invested, this is a great way to play with some fake money and test out some of the theories that you have. You know, whether it's, I want to know what it's like to buy Tesla, or I should have bought stock in Walmart. Well, here's your chance to play around with some money and see how it works. I always say that learning is a journey. It is not a destination. Please continue to learn all you can about investing. You will be a better investor if you just really, really be a lifelong learner. So I want to wrap it up by saying that. Again, I'm your host, Coach Mike. Here's my contact info. Reach out, book an appointment, no charge, a free 15-minute introductory consultation. Would love to talk to you. So thank you for attending. That is all I have for today. I want to wrap it up and keep trading.